Good morning and welcome. Yeah, I was just saying there are about 150 preceptors out there in the state, so I'm so glad for those of you who could make it this morning and for those of you who are also joining us by watching the recording. We started this annual meeting, I think just last year, as a way to get everyone together, kind of get in the mindset of interns arriving in your spaces starting next week already. And we've been with interns about 3 weeks. They came to Bozeman and we've been spending time touring farms, processing facilities, learning the assignments that they'll do, the church access tracking system. We did a 2-day clinical workshop and so much more, really. We've been full-time and we're ending with a workshop up at Highlight tomorrow, a relational foraging workshop, which is a new thing we're doing with folks at Buffalo Nation's Food Systems Initiative. So students will be digging some prairie turnips and picking some chanterelles, and we're gonna cook some of the things we're finding and just kind of relate to the land and through an Indigenous worldview. So we're really excited to kind of end orientation off that way. Students have been putting in a lot of work.
You okay?
Yeah, we've just had a lot of fun the past few weeks. So today I want to bring us all through, let me see if I can advance my slides. So we'll go through some MDI news, just talk briefly through the precepting timeline as a reminder, talk a little bit about best practices, our good judgment approach that we've been working on, that we got from Harvard simulation training, and then get some of your feedback as well. So hoping that we won't take the full hour, but really glad to see you all and for your time this morning. So some fun facts.
Mom, hey, what's up?
We, this intern class, so the 25-26 dietetic interns are the 14th MDI class. So they began, this program began in 2011 with 14 interns from MSU. And now we have between 19 and 26 interns from all over the US. And then the first years that began this semester of our 2-year program, they are what's going to be the 5th class of MDI, of the Masters of Science in Dietetic Systems Leadership. So we have 280 total graduates to date. This is a photo of some grads who met together in Greece after meeting at the program. So we have a lot of lasting relationships and are grateful to so many of the alum who are out there and so many preceptors who you all make this program work, and whether you came to MSU or not, we're so grateful for you. Many of our interns are still in clinical practice. That's where the most jobs are. So about 64%. 95% of alum are employed. So that the other 5% are typically folks who are maybe not looking for employment. They're doing other things. And 22% are in community. I would say that's higher, a little bit higher than the national average. And then we have about 8% who are in food service management type roles. So many folks come to the program for that sustainable food systems emphasis. And the largest part of internship is their clinical experience. They're doing anywhere from 9 to 22 of their 36 weeks in clinical practice, just totally depending on the intern's preferences and areas of interest. And we've also seen some market adjustments recently, kind of responding to shortage of RDs and just that wages are going up. So we've seen some really promising clinical wage shifts as well recently, which interns are really excited about too. Our team right now is me. So many of you know that Anna Diffenderfer has moved on after she started with the program in 2016, and her youngest child graduated from high school in the spring, and she is starting her own business. She's going to be traveling, and it was just a good time for her to transition. So she's doing really well, and we're very excited for her. And Kira Bartley, who had been the assistant director for just about a year, moved to Vermont to be closer to her family. Her sister was moving back home and having her third child, and she just really adores her nieces and nephews. So she's living in Vermont, closer to family, and we definitely miss them both, but we are really hoping to hire an assistant director very soon. HR processes have slowed down at the university quite a bit in the last few months, but we should have a posting, I'm told, any day. I was told that the past 2 weeks. So we are just excited to get that up so that we can fill out our team a bit more. So we are going from a 3-person team to a 2-person team. And I think that will be a great move. I think 2 people is enough. And then we'll have non-tenure track faculty helping out with like graduate projects and still with teaching and things. So if you're waiting on an email from me, I've been full-time with interns, and then for the next month, I'll be precepting the Sustainable Food Systems weeks, which I'm really excited for as well, but my response time is just a little bit delayed right now, and I appreciate your patience with that. So just as a reminder, we have 2 pathways in the program. We have a 2-year Master of Science in Dietetic internship, which includes Master of Science in Dietetic Systems Leadership, which includes a 1-year internship. So that is a 2-year program, first year online, and then students come to Montana in the second year. So I've been spending the last 3 weeks with those second-year dietetic interns, and then we also have 3 non-degree or graduate certificate dietetic interns who came into the program already with their master's degree. So those students got their DPD verification statement, their didactic program in dietetics, then they went on to get their master's, and then they're coming here for just the supervised practice so that they're eligible to take the RD exam. So still running the 2 programs. This year, we have 16 who did the Master's of Science and who are in their second year, and then we've got 3 who came in for DI only. So 19 interns who are starting rotations next week. They do still have about 10 MDI assignments, and we will be holding class every week, again, on Wednesdays from 1 to 4. So we ask that they are released at noon on Wednesdays so that they can attend class. And then they're getting 36 weeks of supervised practice. We're looking for minimum 35 hours a week. And up to 40 to count towards their supervised practice hours. And then all the master's students are also doing a professional project too. And I'm really excited about those. This year, some of the topics are those who are collecting data. One is doing a weight-inclusive care provider interviews. Another is evaluating the weight-inclusive basic nutrition course that we're teaching here at MSU. So thousands of students doing a pre and post eval to see if that curriculum's effective. 2 others are working with athletes at MSU on relative energy deficiency in sports, so that red S, and doing survey and intervention with athletes. And then another is looking at evaluating our new pilot curriculum in trauma-informed nutrition care. So doing some pre-post on that. We also have several who are partnering with organizations on a project that's not necessarily research-based, but a project. So one of those is an intern has partnered with Food and Planet, which is a really cool organization. Check them out if you haven't. But they have done a survey of dietitians, planetary health knowledge and practice in the Today's Dietitian magazine for several years. So one of our interns has helped with development of that survey, administering it, and also kind of the communication pieces with results. Another one partnered with our team nutrition and Montana OPI to kind of characterize the farm to school activities going on in the state. And she'll be presenting this fall at the Mountain Plains region farm to school meeting. So we're grateful for those partners. She's had a really good experience. And some others went to Senegal last December with a faculty member here on campus, and they worked with women smallholder farmers on getting some farm to school at a school in Senegal. And then another intern is working on looking at data for WIC redemption at Riverstone Health. She worked there last year, so she kind of knows that population really well and is kind of looking to see if there are any predictive factors for folks kind of redeeming their first benefit when they're new to the program, and if they're making use of some of those fresh fruit and vegetable additional incentives. And another is working with our Montana Office of Rural Health on adapting a curriculum for children with the Fort Peck tribes. And that's being adapted both culturally and to have sort of a weight inclusive approach as well. So she's had a lot of fun working with that office too. And then we have some who are doing systematic literature reviews as well, looking at diet and exercises impact on menopause symptoms, telehealth counseling for older adults, counseling techniques for binge eating disorder, and medical nutrition therapy for anxiety disorders. So we're really just encouraging students to follow their passions with those professional projects, and excited to kind of bring you some of that, those results either at our fans meeting in May, or definitely that's what we've done the past few years, and it's worked really well. But we'll be inviting you to whatever format they're presenting those findings at as well. Let's take a look at precepting timeline. So many of you know this, but just a quick review. In January of this coming year, or January of last year, we reached out to you to see what schedules might work for you. And then I need to update this, but I'm doing HR onboarding too. So if you're missing something for me, definitely let me know. I think we're pretty on top of it, and that's mostly for clinical facilities, but I'm taking over that, and I think it'll be the assistant director coming on who will then do it for next year. Planning and preparation. So you might be giving interns any pre-learning, might be thinking about project ideas before they're coming to you, and kind of developing orientation, welcome materials and plans so that you're ready for them when they're coming. And then 2 weeks prior, they should be sending you an email introduction, letting you know what they're excited about when they're rotating with you, what kind of competencies they want to be addressing, if they have any prior experience in this area of practice, and just kind of giving you a good idea of where your plans for them and needs kind of match with their interests too. And then on their first day, spending some time on a welcome meeting. They should also be coming with a rotation planning sheet, which kind of outlines some of the things they've thought about, which again can help facilitate that conversation of what kind of projects you want them to focus on and what types of experiences, especially if we're thinking about in clinical, like additional experiences you might try to focus on to meet their interests. And then if you haven't yet, Trajexis registration. So Trajexis is our evaluation software, and I will send out the link in the follow-up email as well. But we do have a new Preceptor Hub on the website. So let me show you. Then here's our website. Go to Preceptor Hub. We have a prior to intern rotation checklist, first day intern checklist. So these are all drop downs that you can check out. Planning and evaluation form requirements. So what do we need from you when they're coming? We've got links to Preceptor Trajexis instructions for you, an assignment quick guide. So if they're going to do their quality assurance in service or clinical assignments with you, you can see what was the purpose of this assignment, what are the outputs, and what kind of evaluation do you need to do. And then new preceptor orientation. So this is the recording from the new preceptor training we did last September. We are going to be recording another one here with some slight updates very soon and posting it. And then these are all from our handbook too, but kind of about the program, role of the preceptors, how and when we'll be communicating with you, intern onboarding, providing them feedback. So we do ask for a clinical midpoint for those longer clinical rotations. Otherwise, just a trajectosis eval at the end of the rotation or associated with their assignment if the assignment has its own eval. With providing feedback too, we just ask that you are talking with them and giving them feedback throughout and discussing their final eval with them before kind of publishing it to trajectosis. What we don't want is any sort of like surprises on that final eval that the intern's not been aware of or had opportunities to kind of address throughout the rotation. And as always, if you're having any trouble, or if you're kind of looking for some tools to have a conversation with the intern, reach out to me. I'm super happy to talk with you, to talk with them, to talk with all of us together. Whatever you need, that's really why I'm here. So never hesitate. And then our teaching style, which I'll go over in a short review, but we've been using this good judgment approach, which helps to see kind of where the intern's coming from. Progression of learning. So we want interns progressing in every rotation. That's our goal, that they are ready for entry-level practice by the time they're done with their 36 weeks. So they should be increasing in responsibility, proficiency, independence, competence. And then remember that professionalism, communication skills, their time and resource management, their knowledge base, these are all part of the skill set we're developing too. So while they have had all of the topics that you should be while they've had in their didactic portion all the topics relevant to dietetics practice, when they come to you, it is many times their very first time doing those skills. So just remember that the doing of the skills is new, and progression is our goal, kind of starting with where that intern is and helping them to move along. And again, if you need any tools to support that progression, let me know. You all who are dietitians or NDTRs can get CEUs. So we've got a DocuSign form here that you can click into anytime, fill out your information, it'll route to me, I'll sign it. And all you need to do is put how many hours of contact hours you did with interns that year, and you can get up to 3 CEUs. So you don't need to wait till the end of the academic year. You can just click sign in, and this is like a power form where it asks you a bunch of questions and then it populates the form, and then I sign it, and then you can sign it and submit it to your CDR portfolio. And then what are our expectations of the interns? So these are the professional expectations, which we are evaluating for interns every semester. So we're looking for at least 3s doing well, performing as expected for intern level on that scale of 1 to 5 in their evaluations. So we're looking for them to have proactive communication. If they're running late, if they're absent, if they've got life things going on, that they are communicating with you and you're not kind of wondering what's going on and having to ask them. That absences are always excused with ample notice, and that they are keeping the MDI team and preceptors in the loop. That they're performing in this doing well, performing as expected, that 3 or greater in the overall evaluation, kind of at the bottom of each evaluation form from every preceptor. If they do get a 2 overall, that would prompt a conversation between directors and the intern and directors and the preceptor, so that we can sort of figure out like what happened and how can they grow from this experience and avoid any overall 2s moving forward. If the overall 2s continue, we do have suspension and termination procedures, but of course want to work with students to avoid those, because they're all here for a reason and we believe in them. So we know that everyone can get through this program and become dietitians. We ask students to dress professionally, and that looks a little bit different in all of your facilities. So making sure that you're just giving them clear expectations in their intro email so that they know what professionalism and dressing professional means for your organization, and then giving them pretty honest and direct feedback if that's not being met, so that, again, they have a chance to make that change. We ask them to act ethically, responding to emails within 48 hours. So always making sure they're checking that email daily and getting back with any communications appropriately, that they're coming prepared, that they're taking accountability if assignments or communication is missed, and that they're presenting engaged, both during class and during their rotations. And that they are assuming responsibility for their learning. So we talk about this quite a lot, that as preceptors and as instructors, we're facilitators, and all we can do is offer them the tools for learning, and they need to really take control and advantage of their own learning, and they're going to get out of it what they put in. So that's the messaging they're getting from us, and we encourage you, to give them the tools and then ask them to take responsibility. They're all going to be working professionals very soon. And then that they're looking for answers and using the resources available so that none of us are getting kind of the same question more than one time or more than a few times, that they're taking notes if they need to. But again, that sort of goes along with taking responsibility for their own learning. So these are our expectations of them. It's something you could always refer to if you're having a conversation about any sort of misses that you're experiencing with meeting these expectations. And then you can see what the beginner or a 2 level or the early beginner not doing what we're asking looks like too. We also ask interns to come with a growth mindset. So that means that they are acknowledging with honesty and non-judgment sort of where they are in their learning progression, and working to grow and learn. So that means if they're already coming into a rotation with quite a lot of knowledge in this area, still finding ways to grow beyond that. And then if they're coming in with something that they have in the past maybe said, I'm not good at this, this isn't for me, that they are instead shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, saying, you know what, I just need to try a different way, or I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And so that everyone is possible. It is possible for everyone to grow in all these competency and professionalism areas that we're looking at. And that also comes with practicing, flexibility, adaptability when systems change, when situations change. Moving from that didactic to the supervised practice, that is a new skill that many of them are working on, that they're not necessarily working from an assignment rubric where they know everything about the expectations, but they're developing those communication skills to kind of figure out with the preceptor, what are the expectations here, and then checking in on that. And also that when things change, they are able to kind of go with the flow and be in partnership with you as preceptors so that you can get your shared work done. We also have been working a lot on our mission and vision of the program. So I did want to share that with you, and I'm just gonna switch my screen share here quickly. Oh, thanks for bearing with me. I have a new setup here. There we go. So I'm gonna switch my screen share to be a PDF that our graphic designers have been working on with us. So is that big enough for folks to see? Good. So dietetic systems leadership is the name of our master's degree. And we think about it in terms of 4 pillars. And in the middle is our mission, which is also the title of the degree, dietetic systems leadership. So The mission is also the output, that future RDs lead sustainable health solutions for people and the planet. And so our first pillar is systems thinking, and UNESCO defines that as the ability to recognize and understand relationships, to analyze complex systems, to think of how systems are embedded with different domains and different scales, and to deal with uncertainty. We know from research that the Academy has been doing that dealing with risk and being dynamic are some of the top skills that dietitians are going to need for future practice. So we are teaching systems thinking. Collective care is another one. So having shared responsibility for each community member's well-being and thinking about solutions that are focused on making sure that the most vulnerable are getting kind of the resources that they need. Dietetics competency, right? Those are the 50 Ascend competencies for the RDN and that they are specifically focused on during that supervised practice year. And so our goal there is that students are demonstrating nutrition care for individuals and also at the systems level for policy, systems, and environmental change. And then personal empowerment. We work a lot with students on developing their passions, that growth mindset, and personal growth. So almost all of them are coming in with a lot of imposter syndrome. They might be thinking, why am I here? Everyone else is doing better than me. I'm never going to be good as my preceptor. And so we just want to be sensitive to thinking about building up their self-efficacy. So setting the bar and giving them the tools to meet those standards so that they believe that they can do it and they are noticing their personal growth kind of throughout this whole journey. I think that's something that we've worked a lot on within the program, but we haven't necessarily communicated with preceptors a lot about how much professionalism, communication skills, and just personal growth we are kind of expecting from interns in this year. So again, if you've got any questions about those things, never hesitate to reach out. And then with our graphic designers, we worked on building out kind of each domain and aligning them with our program values too. So the program values are to challenge students to discover and develop their passions. You probably saw a lot of that with the types of projects they're choosing, both their professional project and that they're kind of leading their conversations with you by letting you know what they're really interested in. That they're fostering holistic personal and professional development. So that's kind of their growth mindset, working with their personality types, crucial conversations, and developing some of those more hard leadership skills as well. Practicing and cultivating transdisciplinary inquiry and that systems thinking. So in this next month, they're doing 2 weeks of sustainable food systems rotations. And in the past 3 weeks, about half of that has been sustainable food systems as well. So we're working on getting them kind of primed and prepped with those systems thinking tools before they're coming to you all. And acting with integrity to work towards a more just, inclusive, and livable future. So you can kind of see those things woven in through our approaches. And then each pillar, I might not spend the whole all the time. I'll just kind of breeze through these, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as we're kind of refining our model as well. So with systems thinking, we're looking at place-based food and water systems, sustainable diets, planetary health, and we're hoping that the competencies or the skills they're coming out with are the ability to identify partners across disciplines and work strategically to kind of collaborate so that we have transdisciplinary solutions. And that they're really bringing innovative solutions to these problems that are worldwide and also very local that we know exist. Dietetics competency, 45% of the RD exam is clinical nutrition care for individuals and groups. So that's why at a minimum, they're getting we like to see like at least 11 weeks of clinical practice of the 36. And then foundations in dietetics is 13%, food service systems are 13%, and then the management kind of leadership, HR, those things are 21% of the exam. So they're getting over 1,000 hours of supervised practice with us, and that is a number determined by the Department of Education. And yes, we are recording, Wanda, so we'll send that out. Personal empowerment. So we're working on professionalism, research, growth mindset. They're doing a personality assessment, their professional project, looking at the things that really inspire them, and the values alignment here as well. And then finally, collective care. So some new things I wanted to share with you that we're doing this year. All the students are doing Indian Education for All, and that's a curriculum developed by Office of Public Instruction that aligns with legislation for all teachers and students in Montana educational systems to know about the Indigenous peoples who occupy this land and state with us. And there's a really cool curriculum that I'm going to show you right after this slide called Caring for Indigenous Montanans that they've also done. And I really encourage you all to check it out too. It's free and like something we've been really wanting and hoping for. And this is the first year we've assigned it. So I'll show you that next. They're also taking, for the master's students, they're taking a course on weight inclusive care and counseling. For one semester in their first fall, they're taking an evidence-based nutrition practice course where they kind of look at weight science and what is the impact of changes in weight on disease states, and also sort of the types of interventions that are affecting weight. And so they're kind of critically evaluating the literature in that. And then we're really excited that for the first year, we've developed a nutrition care and education a nutrition counseling and education course, which is starting this fall, and that's with Jessie Peterson, the undergraduate program director. So that's an elective for our students. And so the incoming interns won't have had it, but the grad students who are starting this fall, who will be your interns next year, will have had that course. Most of them chose it for their elective. And they're doing that online as well. We also yesterday did a 2-hour training with Bridger Care on LGBTQ plus nutrition care, and we did some trans nutrition care case studies this morning so that students know like what energy estimations are we doing? How do we evaluate labs and anthropometrics for people who are trans or gender fluid as well. And then interdisciplinary care team. So we are working with the WWAMI medical students and nursing students still on culinary medicine in the fall. And at least at the bare minimum, we're hoping that they can identify the other members of the team, their role and scope, and educational preparation for folks who would be on the medical team with them. So I promised I would show you that Caring for Indigenous Montanans modules. So let me pull that up. So our Montana Office of Rural Health developed these, and I think they did it in a good way. It really seems. And I would like to, please tell me if the audio is working, but I just want to show you sort of the starter video. It's just like 3 minutes for what these are.
We know when someone is compassionate towards us. A lot of times we're afraid. We're afraid of maybe a bad diagnosis, maybe a bad experience. We want to feel safe.
Everyone in my family tries to avoid the doctor because we've had a lot of individual and collective bad experiences.
There's an underlying mistrust that has been inbred with us from generation to generations of care that we've received.
There's a lot of my people that are in graves that they shouldn't have to be in. They could still be productive. They could be enjoying their families. if the curricula would allow it for, health workers, I think learning about your environment, the people, how we respect different things and what we respect, rather than just finding out what your blood pressure is and identifying diseases and things like that. I think the biggest disease they have is not knowing who we are. And they can fix that if they want to.
All Native communities aren't the same. All tribes aren't the same. We're all Indigenous, Native American, but we might as well be different races. We're not a box that you check on. I'm not Native American, I'm Apsalia, I'm Crow.
We still hold dear our cultural ways, our cultural values. There's always a history in every community that you enter.
With the little shell, we've always been persistent and consistent and think outside the box and push.
When they are approaching patients, approach them with care, approach them with kindness, with an open mind and an open heart.
Tribal people, they like to tease, and sometimes they might tease you personally, but
we have our own language. We have our own ways of healing, and we ask that they respect that.
What I would like to see is an acknowledgement of a different worldview, a different perspective, a different way of looking at health and of healing.
Come and sit with us as humans, as brothers and sisters, and be a part of a 10,000, 15,000-year-old ceremony and just feel who we are as a people.
We'd like to share it with them. And if there are people, they know it.
So we asked interns to choose at least one of the tribal curricula to do. So anyone can do this. You just go in and register. There's Blackfeet, DSKT, Crow, Fort Belknap, Fort Peck, Little Shell, Northern Cheyenne, Rocky Boy options right now. And they say that they're about 3 hours each, but it's Native knowledge keepers who are interviewed. And then it also sort of talks about policy changes that have really impacted Native people's health and food systems. And it's just really well done. So excited that students have done at least one of those. Welcome you all to, they're free, check them out if you've got the time and interest. Okay, with that, I just want to review briefly that good judgment approach that we've been, I'm working on a lot. And it's basically a framework sorry, I'm distracted by switching my slides here. So I'm going to switch one more time and then I'll dive in. Okay. So the good judgment approach is, we're almost there. Yeah, it's tools. So the Harvard Simulation Lab is this really cool, week-long curriculum. Kira had done it and I've done an abbreviated version, but really healthcare students are asking for more simulation. And then even in continuing ed, Harvard uses this with practicing professionals to kind of increase quality healthcare delivery, decrease kind of mistakes, and work on communication within healthcare teams. So I think that it also applies just the same to our food service management and our community rotations as well. But you are the most essential teachers for our dietitians, our future dietitians, and we just want to share this tool with you and kind of get your feedback on it as well. So psychological safety is something definitely Gen Z is tuned into. And also we know that that learners learn best when they are in this kind of zone of comfort. We can push them to some discomfort, but if they're getting out to the edge of this diagram, they're getting kind of deactivated or too sad, too shocked, too activated. or maybe even like overly excited to be learning well. And so we want to be in a place where we can help facilitate student learning, like closer to the middle of this safety diagram. So creating psychological safety, active listening, you all know what that is and what that looks like. Setting clear expectations, objectives, and roles. It really calms students down to know what your expectations of them are and what their role is. It just gives them a sense of peace. It's not always going to be possible, things always change, but sort of be thinking about what your expectations for them are and how you can communicate so that they know what their role is. Having respect for learners, and then we'll talk about this with good judgment approach. So having respect really starts with this basic assumption that we believe everyone's intelligent, capable, doing their best, wants to improve. That means our team at MDI, students, faculty, preceptors, we're making this basic assumption about everyone we're working with. And when something happens that an expectation isn't being met, we can come at it with kind of 3 different types of judgment. Harsh judgment would be, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you harshly what I think, and that is going to motivate you to change. And you're incompetent, and I know best. That's an example of harsh judgment, which unfortunately we see sometimes in our workplaces and things, but it's not as common, thank goodness. Hidden judgment is still the belief that I'm right, you're wrong. We might ask some leading questions to help students come to the right answer, but we're not actually telling them what our expectation was and how they sort of missed. There's still some guessing in there. And an example is compliment sandwich. So you're doing this well, please work on this, and overall you're doing well. The good judgment approach, again, starts with that basic assumption of goodness of everyone, and it also acknowledges that everyone's perspective is legitimate. So rather than thinking you're wrong, we get curious and ask, why didn't the student meet the standard? Acknowledging that their take on the situation and my take are both legitimate and that everyone's here like trying to do their best work. So some examples, I'll just focus on the hidden and the good judgment. That was really good. What should we do differently next time? So kind of trying to lead them to the right answer. Or good job with your nonverbal cues. Why might we need to change what we ask them next time? See, it's kind of indirect, being like, you did the nonverbal cues right, but you still missed something. So the good judgment approach would be, how do you feel that patient interview went? Asking sort of what their approach was. I noticed you didn't get their diet recall. I was hoping to see you ask some follow-up questions about the amounts they ate throughout the day. This is important to ensure that we don't miss anything that could be contributing to their GI symptoms. So just telling them how they missed and why, so that it's very clear what the expectation is. And the questions are, how do you feel that went? Sharing your observations that they had missed that diet recall, asking them, what were you thinking in that moment? So asking them what their frame was, because when we think about that circle of psychological safety, there might be tons of reasons why they didn't ask those follow-up questions. And what the harsher hidden judgment assumes is that they didn't know what a good dietary recall looked like. They might know that there might be some other reasons why they didn't get those questions done in the way you expected. Express concern about what they may have missed, and then the outcomes that are affected by that, and being clear about what you want to see next. So always giving them a reason about why this expectation I have is important and relevant. We're going to skip this discussion, but I did want to show you the frames of action. So here's a result, an outcome that you're going to reflect on. Okay, the actions I saw that got to this result weren't what I was looking for. And so then we start asking about the frame that the student is coming from. What are their assumptions, feelings, goals, rules, their knowledge base, situational awareness, influence of context. These are all things that might be influencing their actions that got us to this result that we didn't like. And with the harsh and hidden judgments, we kind of often assume that it's their knowledge base that is lacking. But really, it might be this whole variety of the context or the situation. So the inquiry, let's see if this is going to advance. It just kind of froze and like stopped. Let me see. I'm just reloading. And sometimes our secure internet goes out a lot, but okay, we'll make it here. So many of you know about situational leadership, and this helps us to help an intern progress. So interns that need the most support need directing. So on their first few days with them, you might need to give them specific tasks and skills and really give them a ton of direction about what you're expecting. If they're with you for several weeks, you might get into more of a coaching setting where they are feeling more, they're growing in competence, but they still need your coaching. So directing in the red is observing, showing, teaching. Supporting is acknowledging, listening, and encouraging. So the level of support and direction ebb and flow with this model. So you're totally directing when they're very new and have low confidence and competence. You're doing a little less directing, a little more supporting in coaching. Then you get to supporting, and this might be if they're with you like quite a long time, like their longest clinical. You might be in more of a supporting role where they're feeling moderate competence and variable commitment. The commitment refers to like how excited they are to do this. So it's really high when they're first beginning. It really wavers when they're first learning a skill and they're failing a little bit. It gets stronger when their confidence is building. And then at some point with really experienced staff, you're delegating, right? And so this is just to say that the good judgment approach can really work with differing in situations with differing levels of competence or competence. And this might refer to individual tasks as well. So you might delegate something to them in the first week, a task that they're feeling really strong at, but there are maybe other tasks that you're still directing or coaching with. It's not like all or nothing. So I've thrown a lot at you. In these last 10 minutes, I would love to hear from you now. So we went through some of the new things going on in the program, our staffing, this good judgment approach, the dietetic systems leadership, our mission, and our outputs that we're looking for with interns. Went through all those things in the last about 50 minutes. And now I'd love to hear from you. Things that you're enjoying about the program, things that you think are strong, areas where you think we can improve, like what's going well from your perspective, what needs some tweaking, and if there are any consistent problems that maybe you've expressed these before and they're kind of still unresolved. And that can kind of guide the types of preceptor education that we provide this year, and also just, you know, how we run the program. So feel free to unmute, share any of these things, and you can also put things in the chat and I can read some of those out as well.
My name's Emily. I'm from OPI. I think something that has been really beneficial for us, because we usually have a lot of interns, is their little intro PDF that tells us a bit about them, their background, how they learn best, how they like getting feedback. I know that's been very, very helpful for us to just kind of start on the right foot and know how to interact with them because everybody is so different.
Excellent. Thanks, Emily, for introducing yourself and where you're coming from too. We really appreciate that.
I will say some pretty consistent feedback I get from the interns is that they really love the foundation weeks portion of the internship. And I think that's a really good opportunity to just bring everyone together to kind of create their own little community. And I know that they really enjoy the first few weeks of the internship. So I would consider that a strength of the program.
Excellent. It's good to hear that too, because right at this moment, I don't want to do it again next year. It's really fun, but it's exhausting. Yeah. Thanks, Allison. And Allison is from MSU Culinary Services.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
This is Michelle from Community Medical Center. One thing that I will say in the last 2 years that I have been just so pleased with, and I can see it reflected in your presentation, is how much more prepared the students have been to receive feedback. That's been a struggle with some classes in the past. In the last 2 years in a row, I will say that both the students that have been sent to us have taken and grown and given feedback of their own. So it's been a much better discourse.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Michelle. That's great feedback. Appreciate it.
Hi, Lindsay. This is Haley Scott with Team Nutrition. I have baby here. I just startled her a little bit by talking. But I'm just always so impressed with how outgoing and personable the interns are. I feel like every year I say, like, I don't know where you find these people. They're just really awesome. So I think you guys just do a really good job of making them feel comfortable, preparing them, and giving them good professional and communication skills, like you were talking about, that being the basis for kind of starting this professional internship. So um, just praise for the program and having awesome interns. And I'm just consistently really impressed with them.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Haley. Thanks for coming with your little helper today. Sydney Dickinson from OPI said, it's definitely a strength that they come with Canva subscriptions, and hopefully it continues. Yes, so they do have Canva access. They can create beautiful things on Canva. For sure, have them use that as they're making materials for you. Great.
So I'm a little late getting back to the service at St. Pat's. And we also have a clinical here, and Sydney and I were both just talking last week about just what everybody else has echoed, that each year it seems like the caliber of student and their preparedness has improved, but also the tools for us to know the expectations and good communication for us. So just appreciate you guys preparing both parties.
Excellent. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate you speaking up. You actually just reminded me of one more thing I wanted to share with you. So I'm gonna share another PDF. We have created like an Inman style study guide for the interns, which is an RDN study guide. This is domains 1 and 2. We had some recent alum, one who passed right away, one who took a few attempts, and this was also created in Canva. But it goes through the 4 domains of the testing area, or there's a few blank pages here. Oh, is this not going to load? Here we are. So it follows the exam outline of the Commission on Dietetic Registration, and then they have a tracking sheet and tools. So they can go through all the different like topics and subtopics that they'll need to know for the exam, and then they're matching it with their rotation. So for example, we now know that they need to know all the classes of oral diabetes medications and what their effect is on blood glucose. Because one of the multiple choice questions on the exam is like, which of these drug classes will cause hypoglycemia? And so now this is kind of being outlined for them at the beginning. And then when they're in their outpatient diabetes rotation, they can when I was an intern, I just had like a sheet and my preceptor was like, you don't need to memorize those. Like we can look it up whenever we need them, which is great in practice, but also something they need to know for the exam. Other examples are like they need to know quite a few like leadership theories and equations for managing like staff FTE and forecasting menus, all those kinds of things. So it might be that this year they're asking you a few more specific or additional questions about stuff that they're going to need for the exam that are new. And we'll just see how using this tool in this way goes this year. And we're going to get a lot of feedback from the students too, because I don't know if you can see the first two domains are 257 pages. So it's like a pretty thorough study guide that also includes a bunch of tables and appendices so that, they're still going to need to probably get other materials for exam testing to support them. And we still will buy them the Eat Right Prep, which has a bunch of test questions and flashcards and practice exams. But yeah, Sydney, you can get a copy of this. But we just wanted to find a way to really call out like the huge diversity and also like depth of detail of information that's going to show up on their exams. So thanks to some contractors who really made this happen. And the final domains will be coming out soon. The interns did have about 2 hours last week to try to match up the different topics with their rotations, but they're all going to kind of use it in a way that works for them this year. So just something to kind of stay tuned to. And yeah, we're happy to share it if that's helpful as well. I will, as soon as it's done, it'll be like a week or two and I'll send it out to preceptors as well. Because our wonderful academic coordinator is just finishing it up for us. So with that, I'd love to get any more feedback you've got for me. And just want to say a huge thank you. You all make this program what it is, and we could not do any of this without you. You should have all gotten $110 per week per intern to your facilities last May, and that should be used for your continuing ed, supplies in your office, traveling, like whatever you need to do your jobs well. And then site visits, I have 60 planned for this academic year to keep us on track for seeing every site in person every 3 years. So hoping to see many of you who I haven't seen since 2022, this academic year, 22-23, be coming around. And yeah, there's 1 minute left. So if there's anything else from you all, I'll stay on if you want to give me some feedback individually. And just thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Reach out with whatever you need and just know that you are appreciated. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Oh, you're welcome, Emily. See you later.
Thanks, Lindsay. Keep up the good work over there.
Thanks, Allison. Good to see you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Bye, Celeste.
Thanks, Lindsay. We've really enjoyed having interns, and we feel like they've been really, in the last couple of cycles, really prepared clinically. One area of improvement I would add is that they've seemed to struggle a bit with managing their program-specific requirements. So when they need to ask for evaluations, what the specific components of the case study are, things that our staff can't necessarily speak to. So we're managing that internally by giving them deadlines for when they need to have selected a case study topic, just to get the ball rolling a little bit earlier and prevent some of the procrastination panic. But that is one area that we have noticed needs some improvement.
That's great. Thanks so much, Katie, for that feedback. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we definitely noticed a huge improvement in their preparedness in the clinical realm. With at least with our last intern, we only had one last year, and I'm sure part of it was just that particular intern was very motivated and had some experience, but she did say there was a pretty good foundation provided in her internship, and that seemed to have changed over the years prior based on her conversations. So that just made such a huge difference for us and our time commitment with our interns. So good work.
And yeah, I know it can be it's a lot to ask of you guys. So we're doing what we can here to get them prepared. And if that ever changes, please let us know too.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, she was like pretty independent pretty early. We were like, wow, this is almost staff really. But she did great and definitely was a really good experience. So thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You too.
All right, folks, thanks so much for coming. I'm gonna log off here unless anyone else has anything for me.